أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربنا زدنا علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين إلهي آمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I welcome you all to our session today inshallah, which is titled as High Performance Ramadan. And this session basically deals with the Q&A that many of us have going through the month of Ramadan, lots of questions and concerns. So inshallah, we're going to address them today in this gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in our gathering. So with the ayah of Quran, we're going to start our session for today where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed, guidance for humanity and clear portents of guidance and criterion. Whoever of you witnesses the month shall fast it, but whoever is sick or on a journey, then a number of other days need to be made up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires ease for us and does not desire hardship for you. Allah desires ease for you and does not desire hardship for you, so that you may complete the number and celebrate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having guided you, so that you may be thankful. So highlight the word over here that every sane adult Muslim need to fast the month of Ramadan because it has been made obligatory upon us. Who are the people exempted from fasting? The people who are sick or on a journey. So these are the two people who are exempted from fasting. So if we were to take a look into the category that talks about the sick, then menstruation and women going through their menstrual cycle also falls into the category of sick. And that's when we are not permitted to fast if we are going through our menstrual cycle. And subhanAllah, many a times as women, we feel very upset at the onset of our period during the month of Ramadan because we feel deprived. And subhanAllah, the fact of the matter is that we shouldn't feel sad because the Prophet ﷺ informed us in the following hadith where he said, if a servant of Allah falls sick or goes on a journey, he continues to be rewarded for the good deeds that he used to do when he was healthy or at home. So, subhanAllah, this is such a beautiful incentive for all of us that if we are to get our menstrual cycle during the month of Ramadan, we don't have to feel sad. We continue to do other good deeds other than salah and fasting. We continue to do our zikr. We continue to do our istighfar. We continue to do our volunteering, sadaqah, helping other people. Subhanallah, we continue to benefit from this month. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful towards us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us similar to the time when we're healthy or when we are in a state of non-menstruation. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us that kind of utmost reward if we were to approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with sincerity. So now when it comes to menstrual cycle in month of Ramadan, there are certain things we need to know. So say for instance, pointer number 1 for all of us is that salah is forbidden during menstruation. And of course, it applies to fasting and tawaf, performing tawaf around Al-Kaaba. So a menstruating woman can eat and drink during the day in Ramadan, but she should do so discreetly and not in public. Other modes of worship can be performed during menstruation, like dhikr, supplications, listening to the Quran, etc. Now, moving on to the fiqh rulings, and that's where, subhanAllah, things get complicated. And inshallah, we're going to try to address these issues one by one so that we're able to clarify our confusions. So, say for instance, if there is a woman whose menstruation started in Ramadan during the night, meaning any time from the entrance of Maghrib to the entrance of Fajr. What should she do? Then she refrains from fasting the following day and for the duration that she is menstruating. Clear and simple. If her menstruation starts in Ramadan during the day, meaning any time from the entrance of Fajr to the entrance of Maghrib, then her fast is going to be invalidated and it wouldn't count. So all missed Ramadan fasts would be required to make up before the next Ramadan that are missed after the first day of menstrual cycle. So this is a point that needs some clarification because in many of the cultures, it's believed that if a woman gets her period after noon, meaning after 12 p.m., then she can continue fasting and her fast would be valid. This is their notion, this is their thought, and this is incorrect because the fact of the matter is, if she is to get her period even 10 minutes before Salatul Maghrib, her fast is gone. Her fast is going to be invalid and she will have to make up for that fast. So this is something that has to be kept in mind, inshallah, as we talk about menstruation and the fiqh rulings regarding it. Situation 3. If her menstruation stops in Ramadan during the day, meaning any time from the entrance of Fajr to the entrance of Maghrib, if her period stops, then she is supposed to perform her ghusl, her bath, and she has to start praying, meaning she'll not be able to fast because, say for instance, it's Dhuhr time already, she's not gonna delay waiting in order to fast for the next day. Rather, she's gonna immediately take a ghusl as soon as she sees the white discharge or she sees dryness. Then she will immediately take ghusl and start praying. Because even though the fasting period is gone, she cannot fast this day, but she is supposed to start praying her salah. Salah becomes fard upon her once her period cycle is over. So she should hasten her ghusl and start praying. Situation 4. If her menstruation stops in Ramadan during the night, meaning any time from the entrance of Maghrib to the entrance of Fajr, then she's going to perform her ghusl and she would start praying and she will be required to fast the following day and the remainder of Ramadan. So this is like a basic guideline so that, inshallah, we can take this as a premise for our class and we can look at different situations and see what needs to be done. So, what should a person do regarding their missed fasts? The question commonly comes up that should we make them up or should we pay fidya for it? So let's take this question and see what's the ruling for a person who missed a lot of the Ramadan fasts due to period or any valid reason. So what's the ruling regarding it? The fuqaha say that we have to make up those missed fasts before next Ramadan. Before next Ramadan. So the fuqaha mentioned that our missed fasts are basically like dain to Allah. It is like a debt that we need to pay off. So we should try our best to make up for our missed fasts before the next Ramadan, as we come to know from the narration of Aisha radiallahu anha, who said that she would make up her fasts in the month of Sha'ban. So a person who is healthy does not have to perform the expiation. They do not have to pay the fidya. They have to make up those fasts. And this is the case of women who missed Ramadan fasts due to their menstrual cycle. But what about women who missed an entire Ramadan due to pregnancy or nursing? Should she give fidya, or she will have to make up these fasts? What's the ruling regarding it? Again, there's a difference of opinion among scholars regarding this. So the general consensus, the contemporary fiqh like Amja, they say that it depends on the situation of the woman. So the scholars say that she needs to make it up whenever her condition is over. Because the ruling of fidya is for a person who's going through chronic illness, meaning that this person will not be able to regain their health. So they can pay fidya. And what's fidya? Basically, fidya is a meal that needs to be given to a poor person for one missed fast. A good, healthy meal, the kind of meal that we eat and feed our families. So why is it one meal? Why is it not suhoor and iftar? Because back then people generally tend to eat only one meal a day. They wouldn't eat 2 meals a day. So that's why for one missed fast, we have to feed one poor person the kind of food that we eat. So a meal would generally cost around $7 to $10. So either we feed a person based upon the total number of missed fasts, or if we cannot physically feed someone, then we calculate the total cost and pay online. So websites such as Islamic Relief, pennyappeal.org, they offer these kinds of services and we can avail them. So the fact of the matter is that it has to be a poor person. So, meaning what? That inviting friends and family for iftar wouldn't really suffice as fidya. Fidya has to be given to a deserving person, a poor person who is in need. So, what about a particular situation? What if there is a woman who was pregnant 1 year and nursing 2 years, then pregnant and nursing 2 years, and she has missed almost 6 years of Ramadan fasting? So even though she's not chronically ill, but in this situation, what should she do? So the majority opinion is that she has to make up her fasts. She can do them every year in winters or fast on Mondays and Thursdays throughout the year. And inshallah, she will be done. However, minority opinion is that she can give fidya and she doesn't have to fast since the number of fasts that need to be made up are many. And out of caution, some scholars even recommend that every year she should give fidya for her missed fasts just to be on the safe side. And then once she's able to fast all her makeup fasts, she should do that as well. Basically, in this situation, she's giving fidya plus making up the fasts. Now, it may seem unfair to most of us, but basically, it's just to be on the safe side since we never know how long we're gonna stay alive, right? So that's why this is kind of a safe protocol to approach. And also, scholars recommend that whatever fasts we miss in a given year, we should write them down and inform our family members about it. Why is this important? So say, for instance, we missed fasts due to pregnancy, right? So we intended to make up for those missed fasts. Now, because the intention is still there, this is something which is very important for me. What if I never gave any fidya on these fasts? And what happened before I was able to make up these fasts? Say, for instance, I died. In this scenario, these fasts that I have missed, it's like a debt towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has to be fulfilled. So in this case, what is the solution? The solution is that my children are required to fast on my behalf. Okay, I'm going to repeat. Say, for instance, I have fasts to make up for this Ramadan that I missed because of my menstrual cycle, whether it's 6, 7, 10, whatever it may be. It's always best to write them down, to journal them. Why is it important? Because what if I intended to fast later on after Ramadan, but I passed away? I never did the makeup fast for those missed fasts. So in this situation, if I died, my children are supposed to look at my journal, see my journal, and see if there are any missed fasts that I was supposed to do, but I wasn't able to do. So then it would be incumbent upon my children to make up for those fasts. But say, for instance, if the children cannot fast as well due to a legitimate reason, then they can at least look in my journal, see the number of missed fasts, and pay fidya on my behalf. So this is something we should inform our family members about it. We have to inform our family members that these are the missed fasts I need to make up for this year. And inshallah, keep this in mind. This is the place where I'm going to write them down. So in case I'm not able to make them, this is an amana with you. Okay? So basically, fasting is just like money. You know, just like when we borrow money from someone, it's a very important matter because this is something we owe to them and we shouldn't take it lightly. So anything that's a debt needs to be paid off by the family members of the deceased if the deceased wasn't able to pay it off. However, what about a woman who missed her 3 years of fast because 1 year she was pregnant and other 2 years she was nursing? Then she will follow the regular protocol, similar to a menstruating woman with period or nifas. Nifas is basically a longer period. So the ruling would be that she will have to calculate the number of days and make up those fasts. Okay, so what's the scenario? The scenario is that she has 3 years of missed fast, meaning 90 days of fasting she needs to make up. If she fasts at least 5 days in a month, whether it's Monday and Thursdays or any other days that's convenient for her, then she will be done with 50 fasts if she was to do this for 10 months. If she was to practice this for 10 months, then she will be done with 50 of her fasts. And we're talking about 10 months fasting only because we're excluding Ramadan and we're excluding Shawwal since many people fast in the month of Shawwal, right? So if she does this routine for 10 months in a year, she will be done with 50 fasts in 1 year. And then the next year, she's supposed to fast for 8 months in a similar manner, 5 days a month, and she will be done. SubhanAllah, she will be done with all her 90 days of fasting. So it's not something impossible. It is doable, inshallah. And we should keep this in mind that this is something which is very important and we need to make it up, inshallah. Okay, now there are certain situations, there are certain questions in terms of spotting. What's the ruling in that regard? What do I do? Do I pray or not? Do I fast or not? So let's take those situations one by one and see what the scholars say about that. So, specific scenario, Marwa is fasting during Ramadan. Maghrib enters at 6 p.m. She goes to the bathroom at 6:15 and sees blood on her panty line. She doesn't know when the bleeding started. What's the ruling? What should she do? In this case, because she's unsure when the blood came out, in this case, she assumes that the blood started to flow when she saw it, meaning at 6:15. Therefore, her fast is valid because her menstruation started after Maghrib. Okay, inshallah, hopefully that's clear. Another situation, Huda is fasting during Ramadan. Maghrib enters at 6 p.m. She's expecting her period to start soon. So at 5:50 p.m., she feels discharge exit, she feels discharge coming out of her. So she doesn't make it to the bathroom until 6:15. She kind of delays because she was busy doing some cooking, doing some chores. So she kind of delays it on purpose, even though at 5:50 she kind of felt discharge coming out. So at 6:15, she goes to the bathroom and she sees blood on her panty liner. And knowing her body, she's reasonably sure that the blood that exited when she felt it at 5:50 p.m., it was actually her menstrual cycle. So, what's the ruling regarding this? The ruling is that her menstruation actually started at 5:50 and her fast is invalid. So meaning what? That she must make it up after Ramadan finishes in a time when she is not menstruating. And again, subhanAllah, when we think about this, it seems very sad that there was just 10 minutes left for Maghrib. Why can't I just count this fast? Subhanallah, the fact of the matter is this fast is gone. It's invalidated, so it has to be made up. In terms of reward, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how hard we tried. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how patient we were. So inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us reward. But in terms of faridah, we have to make it up. We have to fulfill it. So this is something which needs to be taken care of later after Ramadan. Another scenario regarding Hira. Hira's period lasts for 9 days as per norm. At Fajr time of day 9, she sees white discharge. What should she do? So basically, what she's gonna do, she is going to do suhoor and then take ghusl and start fasting, and her fasting would be deemed valid. Meaning, if, subhanAllah, she is clean, she has time to take ghusl and then do suhoor, and then is the time of Fajr, then of course this is the better way. But say for instance, there is not sufficient time to do suhoor and ghusl, then what takes precedence? You're gonna do suhoor, and then even though the fasting time has already entered, you're gonna take ghusl and you're gonna start fasting, you're gonna offer your prayers, and your prayer is going to be valid, inshallah. Another case is Hajra's period lasts for 6 days as per norm. At Asr time of day 6, she sees white discharge. What should she do? She should take ghusl and start praying. She cannot fast on this day because half of the day is already gone. But subhanAllah, she will need to make up this fast later on. And subhanAllah, this is something we already spoke of. This is the kind of situation where the period actually began later during the day, after 12. Still, this fast is not valid. Okay, so whether the period comes before noon, before 12, or it comes after 12, as long as it came after Fajr, before Maghrib, that fast would be considered invalid and we will have to make it up later on. So this is something that needs to be kept in mind. What about someone who has a very irregular cycle? So say for instance, Sadaf, her period is very irregular. So what should she do? If she is unable to determine her cycle, then she can wait for 10 days according to the Hanafi madhab, meaning for 10 days she's not gonna pray, she's not gonna fast, and after 10 days she's gonna take ghusl and start praying. Say for instance, if she still continues to have heavy bleeding, what should she do then? According to majority of the scholars, she can wait till 15 days. When the bleeding stops, she should take bath and start praying. So this is in regards to irregular cycle. That if the person is spotting, if the person doesn't know their cycle, and their cycle is going on for 12 days, 13 days, 14 days, then she can take this opinion, according to majority of the scholars, that her period cycle is 15 days. So if her period ends, say for instance, on the 14th day, it is fine for all these 14 days. She's not going to pray, she's not going to fast. But on the 15th day or the 16th day, when she gets clean, she will start fasting and she will start praying after taking ghusl. Okay. What if, subhanAllah, there's a case of a woman called Naila? And Naila is premenopausal, so she bleeds more than 30 days. So she's having excessive bleeding. It's not 10 days, it's not 15 days. The bleeding continues to go on. Then what should she do? Should she just miss her entire month of Ramadan? Or should she fast? What should she do? So the answer is, if her bleeding is excessive, then she should consider 15 days of haid, meaning menses, and 15 days of purity. And subhanAllah, this can be determined by the color and smell of the blood. And subhanAllah, this is how she's going to determine her cycle. So in this initial 15-day period, she shouldn't pray, she shouldn't fast for 15 days. And after that, she should take bath and start praying, meaning she's going to follow the istihaza protocol after 15 days, despite the fact that her period is still going on. She's going to follow the istihada protocol, meaning making fresh wudu for every salah, and she's going to pray salah and continue fasting. So now, what did we say? Let's just try to summarize this. If you have a fixed cycle for your monthly flow, such as 7 days or 8 days, and now you have passed that number of days and the spotting continues, then you must regard the previous fixed cycle as your menses. The rest of the days are istihada, meaning that you must still fast and make salah, but for salah, you need to make wudu for every new salah. And this is the istihada protocol, that it's recommended that you shower every single day, wear a fresh liner for every salah, wash yourself, do wudu, and pray salah in this manner. Say, for instance, if there is no fixed cycle, then consider your haid as 10 full days if the spotting continues, and this is according to the Hanafi madhab. And subhanAllah, there are situations for premenopausal women or girls who have just hit puberty that they have a very extensively long period cycle. So say for instance, there could be a girl who, subhanAllah, for 3-4 months, she didn't get her period. And then for in the fourth month, subhanAllah, she started to bleed and the bleeding continued for 25 days consecutively. She got her period for 25 days or more. There's blood, spotting, then blood, then spotting, and it's like a continuous cycle. Then what should she do? According to the Malikis and one Hanbali opinion, subhanAllah, we do not pray for 15 days. And after 15 days, we take a shower and we start praying. Meaning, medically speaking, all this may be considered your period. However, Islamically, we consider 15 days to be our period. So if the period exceed the 15-day period, then we consider it as istihada and we start praying and we start fasting. And what is istihaza? Istihada is basically the abnormal blood, which is not the impure blood of menses. This is blood that's just coming from a vein, so it's clean. So salah and fasting would be permitted in istihaza. So when it comes to menstruation, there is clear distinction between the period blood and the istihada blood. How do we know this? Number one, from the color. So menstrual blood tends to be black in color or very dark red, while the blood of istihada is red. It's like, nice red. So this is one of the distinctions to identify whether your blood is menstrual blood or it's istihaza blood. Okay. Number two, consistency. That's another way to determine your type of blood. So menstrual blood is going to be very thick and heavy, while the blood of istihaza is thin. So this is another way we can determine. Also, the smell. Menstrual blood has an offensive odor, while the blood of istihaza does not, because it comes from an ordinary vein. So these are some of the characteristics of menstrual blood. And if the description fits the blood that is coming out, it is for sure haid. It is for sure menstruation. So this is something we can do and keep in mind while trying to figure out if this blood is the menstruation blood or is it the istihaza blood. And a common concern could be, what if we haven't fasted during the days of istihaza? Since there could be a case of someone, say for instance, subhanallah, Naila, she has a period for more than 30 days. Say for instance, she never knew that she was supposed to start praying after 15 days. She never prayed. Okay. So she didn't pray for that complete 30-day cycle. Now that she has learned the ruling, now she has studied the class, what should she do? Because she has already missed all her salahs for that 30-day cycle. So, what's the ruling regarding it? That she has to pay back these salawat. So after 15 days, whatever she didn't pray, she should make it up. Whatever days she didn't fast, she has to make it up. She has to pay back these fasts after Ramadan. Okay, so this is very important for us to know because many of us suffer with an irregular cycle, with an irregular period. And subhanAllah, when Ramadan comes up, we're very overwhelmed with fear, anxiety, not knowing what to do. Should we fast? Should we not? There's so many questions and concerns. So it's very important for us to know these rulings so that inshallah we can decide accordingly what to do and what not. So now the question is, why is this a big deal? Why should we know all these rulings? Because they're so overwhelming and difficult to remember. Why should we know this? The answer is, it is a big deal because my worship, my salah, fasting, umrah, hajj, it all depends on it. And subhanAllah, if I do not know my cycle, or if I do not know the ruling regarding it, and if I am missing my important modes of worship intentionally, just due to ignorance, just due to irresponsibility, and being lax about it, then this is something I will be held accountable for. So, as a woman, as an adult Muslima woman, we have to know our deen. We should acquaint ourselves with our deen because this is very important and we will be held accountable for it. So, inshallah, as we come to learn, let's try to apply these lessons in our lives so that we can be at peace on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Inshallah. Now, of course, when it comes to fasting and period and women issues, there are a lot of questions that generally come up. And subhanAllah, I just got some of these questions from some of you. So I just tried to get them all together and wanted to answer them in this session. And subhanAllah, whatever answers that I am explaining to you in this session is not by me. They have been given by my teachers, subhanAllah, and mainly the answers are from Islam QA. You yourself can go on that website as well. It's a very reliable resource for all of us to get to know about major rulings where there's a lot of confusion. SubhanAllah, that's a very good resource for us to use. So let's go ahead and answer some of these questions. So question number one, did ghusl and start fasting. So there is a scenario given that I did my ghusl and I start fasting, but say for instance, after Fajr, my period starts again. Is this fast valid? So meaning what? That you were nearing your end of cycle and you took a bath before Fajr. You prayed Salah, you started your fast, and after half the day was over, you start bleeding again. And this is a common question for many of us. Will I get reward for this fasting? Yes, of course, inshallah. Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. We have to have husn zan, we have to have good hopes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will reward us. Do we need to make up for this fast? Yes, we need to make up after Ramadan is over. Question two, is it permissible to use birth control pills to delay period for Ramadan, Umrah, or Hajj? So what's the ruling regarding it? The answer is yes, it is permissible for us to use birth control tablets in order to delay menstruation. SubhanAllah, for the sake of Ramadan, Umrah, or Hajj, as long as these pills are not harmful for your health. So all scholars, they allow these pills because many women, they get their period for almost 15 days. And it's hard to make up so many days of Ramadan later on. So yes, it is permissible. It is allowed, but you have to consult your doctor to know whether it's safe for you or not. Using these tablets, using these pills, are they safe for your health or not? And if they say yes, then yes, you are permitted to allow these pills in order to delay your menstrual cycle. Another question is it permissible to fast during pregnancy or nursing? And the answer to that is yes, if it's safe for you and the health of your child, then yes, go ahead, ask your doctor. And if they say yes, then you can go ahead and fast in Ramadan. Another important question is it permissible to recite Quran during menstruation? And subhanAllah, majority of the scholars say that menstruation is like janaba, it's like major impurity, so it's not permissible to recite Quran. So the scholars who say that it's not permissible to recite, it's basically the Hanafi opinion, the Shafi'i opinion, the well-known from the Hanbali. So there is a list of scholars like Ibn Jabir, Ata, Al-Dhuhri. They all say that it's not permissible for women to recite Quran during their menstruation cycle. And they base it on the following hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, the menstruating woman or the one in a state of janaba does not read anything from the Quran. So they base their opinion on this. However, there's another group of scholars who say that this is a weak hadith. So they disregard this hadith and they permit the recitation of Quran during a woman's menstrual cycle. So who are the scholars who allow the recitation of Quran? Imam Malik, according to Ahmad in the report of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Mundhir, Ibn al-Musib, Ibn Hazm, all these scholars, they allow women to recite the Quran. What do they base their opinion on? They say that the Prophet ﷺ sent the Quran to the people of Rome while they were disbelievers. And when we take a look at disbelievers, they are impure. So this tells us that if the disbeliever is allowed to read the Quran, then this is an evidence that, that menstruating women can definitely recite the Quran. So they base their opinion upon this, that it is permissible for women to recite the Quran during their menstrual cycle because there is no authentic hadith telling her not to do so. Telling her not to do so. And subhanAllah, they also say that what if a woman is a hafidha? If she misses her recitation of Quran every single month, say for instance for 15 days or more, then how is she gonna review her Quran? She's gonna forget all of it. So they say, yes, she's allowed to recite the Quran. Say, for instance, there is a teacher who teaches Quran on a regular basis. If she was to take off for 15 days every single month, subhanAllah, she's going to lose her job. Plus, it's going to affect her students. So they allow the recitation of Quran. So what do we learn from here? That there is a difference of opinion in this matter, and what you need to do is that you need to follow your school of thought. What do you follow? SubhanAllah. So if you're a Hanafi, you take the Hanafi opinion. If you are a Shafi, you take that opinion. If you're following the opinion of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, then SubhanAllah, you take that. So do according to your school of thought, inshallah. Another question that usually comes up is it permissible for women to do i'tikaf? And of course, the answer to that is yes, but the common question is, should it be done in the masjid or at home? And the common answer to that is that i'tikaf, as mentioned in Surah Baqarah, is a form of worship that is only done in the masjid. That's only done in a mosque. So, according to majority of the scholars, i'tikaf is only done in the masjid. But according to the Hanafis, the Hanafi permit a woman to perform i'tikaf in her house. So that's how it is. If your local masjid has arrangements for women to do i'tikaf, then inshallah, you are more than welcome to do it. But subhanAllah, we have to know, we have to keep it in mind that i'tikaf is a worship that's done in complete seclusion. So we have to make sure that we do not engage in any kind of idle talk or subhanallah, useless conversation. We have to totally immerse ourselves with dhikr, with Quran, having the niyyah of i'tikaf, having the intention of i'tikaf, and inshallah, if we can possibly do it in the masjid, then that is what is preferable. I'tikaf has to be done in the masjid, and that's the majority of opinion. Another question is it permissible to use eye drops while fasting? And the answer to that is it is permissible to use eye drops while fasting. The fast will not be nullified. However, if it's ear drops or nose drops, that's what is being used, then it will nullify the fast. So in this instance, subhanallah, we have to make sure that if we're using eye drops, if we're using ear drops or nose drops, then it's going to nullify our fast and we'll have to make up for that fast. We'll have to do qada of that fast. Okay. But as far as eye drops are concerned, no, they do not break our fast. Is it permissible to use toothpaste while fasting? And again, that's a very common question and concern during the month of Ramadan. And the answer to that is that brushing the teeth with toothpaste would also be permissible with the condition that the toothpaste and its remnants are not swallowed. So some contemporary scholars have listed the brushing of the teeth with toothpaste as a makruh action, meaning they say it's disliked due to the fact that it is very difficult to avoid the lasting taste that remains after brushing. However, the general ruling is it is permissible, provided the fact that we make sure that we just put a little bit of toothpaste on the toothbrush, so that the taste of the toothpaste doesn't remain after we wash our mouth. Also, we make sure that we gargle really well. We wash our mouth very well so that all the taste of that toothpaste or any remnants of it is completely gone. So if we just take care of that, then it's fine, it's permissible. Another question is, does acupuncture invalidate our fast? And the answer to that is acupuncture treatment only entails basically insertion of needles in various parts of the body. So it is permissible while fasting and it will not render the fast invalid. Another question is regarding injections. Are they permitted during fasting? So in order to be more specific, the kind of injection that's given in the muscle is allowed during fasting, but not an intravenous nutritional injection. Okay, so the common question, what about COVID vaccines? Do they invalidate fast or flu shots? So the answer is no, getting the COVID vaccine or flu shots does not break a person's fast. The fast is only nullified when a substance enters the body cavity through a recognized entry point. Meaning, if we were to use it through our mouth, nose, front, or back of the private parts, then that's when the fast would be nullified. And that's the reason why eye drops, injections, and nicotine patches do not break the fast because they do not enter the body from a recognized entry point. So again, another question is it permissible to do blood test while fasting? And yes, it is permissible to have a blood test while fasting. However, it may weaken a person. So it's more advisable to postpone the blood test after Ramadan if it's not too urgent. Okay. Also, the question is, if we accidentally eat during fasting, then is our fasting gone? Is it invalid? Is it invalidated? And the answer is no. Whatever a person eats due to forgetfulness, it doesn't count, it is forgiven, and the fasting would remain valid. But connected to the same question is, what if we see someone fasting and we see someone is about to eat during fasting forgetfully? Then what's the ruling? Should we remind them or should we not? Should we just stay quiet thinking that it's a gift for him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Should we stay quiet or should we remind them? And the answer to that is yes, we have to remind them because this is something we're witnessing, so we should remind them. If a healthy person misses his fast due to a valid reason, is it okay for him to give fidya instead of making it up? And the answer to that is no. If he or she is healthy, they're healthy, then they have to make it up. They cannot give fidya for it. What if a woman, subhanallah, wants to use nicotine patches? Are nicotine patches allowed during fasting? And the answer is morphine or other medical patches do not invalidate one's fast. Why is that so? Because the drug is injected into the body through the skin and not through the mouth or any other normal channel opening of the body. So the ruling is the same with regards to other patches used, such as the nicotine patches or the birth control patches. So hopefully that is clear. What about a patient who is asked to take medication 3 times a day? What should they do during Ramadan, during fasting? So firstly, what needs to be taken care of is the fact that you will need to consult with a Muslim doctor to make sure whether it is a life and death matter for the person to take 3 pills a day. If the medication is such that you need to take them every day during the fasting period, then it is permissible for you to forego the fasting in the month of Ramadan and keep them at a later time during the year. Maybe during winters, during the shorter days, it would be permissible. However, if it is, subhanAllah, not possible to keep the replacement fasts, even during the shorter days or during the winter season, then you are considered incapable of fasting, and it will be permissible for you to forego your fasts and pay fidya instead. Okay, and just like we mentioned before, the fidya for each person, the fidya for each fast is similar to how much a person gives for sadqatul fitr. So this is going to be 1.6 kg of wheat or 3.2 kilogram of barley, or the equivalent of the above in cash. So we can just make the calculation and either feed the person or pay the money online in subhanallah through reliable sources, inshallah. So it must be remembered, if the patient somehow becomes capable of fasting again, then all the missed fasts will have to be made up again, even if you have already paid fidya for them. And this is the general consensus of the scholars, because it's just better to be on the safer side. Another question that generally women have during the month of Ramadan is the question regarding pap smear. Is pap smear going to break our fast? What's the ruling regarding it? So if having a pap smear test and having a sample taken from the cervix results in the emission of money, in the emission of a sexual discharge, then this will break the woman's fast because it involves desire. But if it simply involves taking a sample with no feelings of desire, then it does not break her fast. And subhanAllah, just to be on the safer side, it's just better to delay a pap smear until the time of iftar at night or later on. If it's something that's not urgent, then it's just best to delay it and do it later on. Okay, so the general the general summary of this is, what kind of sick people are actually exempted from fasting? The answer to that is people with chronic illness who, if they fast, subhanAllah, it's going to aggravate the disease, then this, subhanAllah, person or these people are going to be exempted from fasting. They don't have to fast, and they can simply pay fidya, and that would be sufficient for them. Another common question is, does involuntary vomit break our fast? And the answer to that is no. It does not break our fast. Alhamdulillah. Another question is, can we give our fitra money overseas? Meaning back home, we can send to our relatives. Is it going to be permissible? Is it fine? What's the ruling regarding it? It's normally supposed to be distributed in the country where we live in. Except if there are family members back home overseas, then yes, family members take precedence, so we should send it to them. Also, subhanallah, um, there could be someone, who is urgently in need, so we are allowed to give to another locality based upon a greater need. So say, for instance, there's an earthquake in a given area, or there are people who are starving to death in a given location. So based upon this urgent need, yes, we are permitted to give money to another locality, to another location due to this urgent need. So what's the best approach to do? Basically, subhanAllah, in order to be fair, some of our money should be given to the poor Muslims within our country and some outside, so that inshallah we are fulfilling the haqq of both, inshallah. So this was just a general guideline regarding subhanallah, period and women's issues. And last but not the least, the classic question is, what if I get my period during the last 10 nights of Ramadan? What should I do? Again, remember the following hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, if a servant of Allah falls sick or goes on a journey, he continues to be rewarded for the good deeds that he used to do when he was healthy or at home. So, yes, we do feel very upset. We feel overwhelmed. We feel very sad and anxious. But, subhanAllah, let's be pleased with the decree of Allah. And inshallah, Allah will reward us for our patience during this time. So, let's be patient and do whatever we can during these blessed nights. And no doubt that salah is number one on the list that's most reward worthy in the sight of Allah. Yet, subhanAllah, it's something we're not permitted to do during our menstrual cycle. So, in this particular situation, if we obey Allah, then our reward is in our obedience, inshallah. So, there's nothing to be sad about it. So, what are the things I can do if I get my menstrual cycle during the last 10 nights of Ramadan? Again, there is so much that can be done other than fasting and salah. There's so much I can still manage to do. So, number one, Quran. And again, we said that there's a difference of opinion in terms of the recitation of Quran during the menstrual cycle. So, subhanallah, take a note of that and see what school of thought you follow. Also, we can do dhikr, subhanallah. There's so many adhkar, morning and evening adhkar, saying subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim, saying astaghfirullah, saying subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. So, keeping our tongues moistened with dhikr, this is something we can do, and it's subhanallah totally permissible for us to do. Other than that, we can make dua for ourselves, our family members, for the Muslim Ummah, in order also for our neighbors, our colleagues at work, making dua for them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides them to Islam. So there are so many supplications that we can do. And if you need help with that, there are apps that have the Masnoon du'as, the Quranic du'as, the Sunnah du'as, that are all collected together. We can use that and inshallah make dua during this blessed time, because of course the last 10 nights of Ramadan, they carry Laylatul Qadr. And Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months of worship. So this is something which is very valuable for us, very precious for us, very important for us. So yes, we shouldn't let it go just like that. We have to try our best to make the most of it. So what else we can do? We can do tasbih. So remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and subhanallah, keeping our tongues busy with the dhikr of Allah. We can also send blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so reciting as much durood as we can because of the utmost blessings that come along with it. Also, we can listen to iman boosting lectures such as the tafsir of certain surahs, or we can go through an explanation of a hadith. SubhanAllah, that's something we can listen to. Also, we can read books of seerah. That's something we generally tend to ignore during the other times of the day, during the other months. So that's something which can be a goal, that we can read a book of Sirah during these last 10 nights. What else? We can seek astaghfar. So remembering our sins one by one and trying to seek astaghfar, trying to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, because there's so many sins that we have done intentionally and unintentionally. There's so many sins that we have done that we know and we acknowledge and we realize, and subhanAllah, there could be gazillion more that we do not even know. We do not even realize. So there are different ways where we could have harmed other people and they were affected by it, they were hurt by it, and they were oppressed and we didn't even know about it. So seeking istighfar in this month, especially during the last 10 nights of Ramadan, that's extremely valuable. Also, we can feed iftar. So when we feed our family members, that itself carries a lot of reward. If we feed other people, like our relatives or friends, that also carries reward. And subhanAllah, feeding iftar doesn't just mean to have a lavish iftar party. It can also mean that we put in the effort, we cook, and we send the iftar over to someone's house. Or we invite them over, but we make sure there's no wastage of food. And subhanAllah, we host them, we feed them, and that carries reward in and itself. So that's something that we can do. Also, during this time, we can preach others about Islam. So teaching our kids certain surahs, teaching our relatives and friends on Zoom or other sources, subhanAllah, that's also something we can do and we are permitted to do during this time. We can also volunteer at the masjid. So if we happen to go to the masjid during the last 10 nights of Ramadan, of course, there are places where we can sit. A woman who is a haida, she is in the state of menstruation, musalla area may not be permissible for her to sit, but there are other areas where she can sit, she can stand, she can volunteer, she can guide people, she can help others, she can give water. So there's so much that can be done in order to utilize this time. Also, we can give charity because, again, any good act, such as charity during Laylatul Qadr, is rewarded as if we have done it for over 83 years. So it definitely carries a lot of reward. So we definitely should avail this opportunity. And last but not the least, the zikr that was prescribed to us by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Aisha radiallahu anha asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if I happen to witness Laylatul Qadr, what should I do? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, recite Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. Ya Allah, indeed you are pardoning, you love to pardon, so pardon me. So this is a special dhikr that we can do throughout the night during these last 10 nights because this is something our mother Al-Mu'mineen Aisha radiallahu anha practiced, and this is a teaching of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to his ummah that we should busy ourselves with the dhikr during the last 10 nights of Ramadan. So that's something we should definitely do it. So, what should be our motto? That we should try to do our best to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just on the 27th night, not just on the 25th night, not just on the odd nights, but we try our best to do all 10 nights, how much we can. Inshallah, because Laylatul Qadr can fall in any one of these 10 nights. Also, we should show exemplary character. We shouldn't waste time. And as believers, as Muslims, we should make life changes so that we can become better Muslims after Ramadan. So that should be our ultimate goal, that whatever we do it for the sake of Allah, to please Allah. And when there is sincerity in anything, then that's something that invites the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us all a fruitful Ramadan, a productive Ramadan, a sincere Ramadan, and an acceptable Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings for whatever we were not able to do last Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us opportunities of khair to be able to do it this Ramadan, Ramadan 2024, so that we're able to invite the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadat, accept our siyam, accept our qiyam, and grant us life and death such that He is pleased with us. So Jazakumullahu khairan kathira for being in this session with me, for participating in this session. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira for all your questions. Hopefully, inshallah, it was beneficial for you. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us multiple opportunities so that we can meet together and remember Allah together, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can write it as a testimonial on our behalf that we are together remembering Him, teaching each other, acquainting each other with Islam, and we wish to be amongst the slaves who are mentioned in the gathering of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the gathering of the angels. So with that said, we are going to conclude our session for today. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.